Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. So, firstly, thank you all for watching this video, taking your time out to tune in and listen to what I have to say regarding this topic of Hijrah. Resources like this are badly needed because this is unknown territory for many of us, myself included, and we can all benefit from lessons learned, mistakes made, new and updated information. And as times have changed with COVID and so forth, so are the things that we were able to do before that were okay, that were not requirements, but now they are. And also, I intend to shed some light on a different perspective that we need to take regarding Hijrah. So, firstly, let me start with the Hadith of Umar. And this is going to be mostly in English in terms of my videos, for those who may not understand Arabic, and to just keep the message clear, inshallah ta'ala. Umar, who he said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that verily the actions are by the intention, and everyone is rewarded according to what he intended. So we all know this hadith, and it's a famous hadith, and it is the hadith, I believe, that is the first hadith in Sahih Muslim, I believe it was. All right, this is very, very important. It's also the first hadith in the 40 hadith al-arba'in min from Imam an-Nawawi, rahimahullah. And this is very important because without the intention to do something, then you don't have the action. What you have is an accident, because accidents happen because of things that we did not intend. Uh, so having said that, the right intention. So let's clarify what we mean by intention. I want to first break down or illustrate that in Islam, and oftentimes in Islam, especially with Arabic, we often have multiple meanings for a word. Just like you have, for example, in English, you have the denotation, you have the connotation, meaning that the denotation is the actual definition of the word, and then the connotation is what that word, the meaning of what that word gives off when you say it. Arabic, you have a linguistic meaning and you have a Sharia meaning, and they are not always the same. As an example, if you talk about when Allah mentions in the Quran for the wudu, and He says, wash your hands He says, wash your hands, right? When Allah mentions the ayah for wudu, or you who believe when you stand for prayer, wash your faces and your hands, wipe your heads and wash your feet. Okay, linguistically, we would think, okay, that's face, that's hands, that's feet, that's wipe your head. But in the Sharia meaning, it takes a different tune. It takes a different definition because there's some tafsilat, there's some details that go with that. So and we only get those details from the Sunnah. So in the Sunnah, when the people observed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam making wudu, when he washed his face, he included the mouth with the magmada, and the taking of water in the nose, and then the wiping the face, and then wiping underneath the forehead and the chin and so forth as the face. The hands, as the people had observed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he was making wudu, his hand, the way we understand hand is here. This is how we understand hand. But in the Sharia meaning of hand, it is up to and including the elbows. Up to and including the elbows. So it's the hand, the wrist, up to the elbows. This is all considered the yed, the hand in Islam when it comes to the wudu. Likewise with the feet, up to and including the ankles and the heel, the ka'b and the ankles. Okay, and then in between the toes and so forth. So when you look at words on their face value, you have to understand that there are some words that have a different meaning, or they have a more detailed meaning, or they have some conditions with how you understand that meaning. And this is why when we look at books of tafsir, one of the ways that we take tafsir, or one of the is tafsir by language. What did that word mean in the time of the companions? This is one of the ways that we understand, or that we can approach the Quran, as opposed to just we learn Arabic, we learn some words, we learn some expressions, then when we see that in the Quran, then we go, oh yeah, that means that. But linguistically it has a meaning, The textbook definition, if you look in the Mawrid, in the dictionary, in the Qamus, it has a meaning, and then it also has a meaning from the Sharia, the Sharia meaning, or Sharia meaning from the Islamic law. Hijrah has the same thing. So the base definition of Hijrah, the linguistic definition of Hijrah, is to leave one situation and go to another. Leave one situation and go to another. And that is very broad because it can involve any situation. It isn't just place. So there's a statement where Rasulullah where it was said that the thing Allah loves most is the hijrah that is made from that which displeases him and that he is angered with to that which he is pleased with and he loves. So we're making hijrah from the bad actions, the sayyi'at, to the amal salihat, to the righteous actions. You can make hijrah from one locality to the next. You can make hijrah from, having bad mannerisms and so forth to being a very nice person and so on. So it has a linguistic meaning of literally going from one situation to another. In the Sharia meaning, it's different. And we know that there are a plethora of ahadith that talk about hijrah, and the commentaries that go with hijrah are many. But let's approach this with some hikmah. Hijrah, just as I was reading today, a fatwa from Sheikh Uthaymeen, he said that the hijrah is when you leave a land of kufr because you are not able to show your Islam openly. This is critical to how we approach the niyyah of hijrah. You cannot show your Islam openly. If you do, there is a huge problem. It's a danger to yourself. And Allah has told us, Allah has forbidden us to place ourselves in any kind of danger knowingly or voluntarily. So we have to always value the law or the rule of self-preservation. Protect yourself. If you are in a country, for example, those Muslims in China, if they put on a thobe, they're going to be harassed, jailed, probably stripped naked on the street. It's happened. If a woman puts on a niqab, especially a niqab, but if she puts on a hijab or tries to wrap her head in any kind of way, immediately the police are on her. I've seen videos, heartbreaking videos, of where they make her take the hijab off, and if she doesn't take it off, they take it off of her. They snatch it off of her. In cases like this, the hijrah for people in this condition is wajib if they can leave in its totality, if they have the ability to go. And we'll cover this in a minute. If you are in India, these cowardly Hindu kuffar, they gang up in large gangs and groups to attack one Muslim woman, to harass one little girl. These are situations in which people we're not talking about establishing the prayer. We're not talking about calling the adhan out loud over the loudspeaker openly. We're not talking about being able to go to the masjid and pray in jama'ah. We're talking about just putting on the clothing of something that resembles a person who follows Islam will automatically bring you some problems that you're not going to be able to deal with. I talked with many brothers when I was in my quest for Egypt, and they used to tell me, brothers who were in Egypt, they say, if you put a thobe on and your thobe is above your ankles, then you are going to be watched by the police and so forth, especially if you come out for Fajr, and especially if you're a younger man. I'm not using the example in Egypt to show that you can't manifest your deen. I was just giving an example of how it can be a problem for you. And it can be something that you're not ready or able to deal with. In cases like this, the hijrah becomes wajib on you to leave that land of kufr to go to a place where you can show your Islam openly. Show your Islam openly, practice your Islam openly, be a Muslim in the open, in the public, and you have no issues and problems. No one is going to bother you. We don't have that situation to that degree in America as an example, in Canada as an example. The people, for the most part, don't care what you're on. Okay, they're not religious or they let you mind your own business for the most part. There may be a pocket here and there of a neighborhood or a community that you're in, and you're trying to establish Islam gets you some problems, some side eyes, some real nasty stares, people making snide comments, but no one's actually stopping you from wearing a thobe. It just has some negative blowback when you attempt to do that, but it's not stopping you. The masjid is still open. No one has bombed or firebombed the masjid. No one has, physically set out to harm you if they see you walking around. Again, we're talking about as a whole of America itself, okay, in general. If you go out to Utah, you'll probably get that resistance. If you go out to Arizona, you might get that resistance where people aren't used to seeing Muslims like that. If you go out in Quakerville or somewhere, you probably won't get that down in Pennsylvania. If you go out there where the Quakers are and the Amish are, they're probably used to seeing lots of Muslims in that area. You're not going to get that blowback. So it depends on where you live and what's going on. In those kinds of cases, until you can actually leave the land, you just move to another area or you just are careful of your surroundings. Hijrah becomes wajib. Hijrah becomes, in these cases, mustahab. This is from the fatwa of Sheikh Uthaymeen and also Sheikh Ibn Baz and others like him, and this is not from myself. It becomes mustahab. It becomes probably, and Allahu alam, sunnah mu'akkada, a greatly established sunnah. Yes, we know that the Rasul ﷺ, he said that the Muslim or the believers should not see the disbelievers' campfires. He shouldn't be anywhere near them. He shouldn't be able to be affected by anything while he's even in close proximity to them, seeing their ways, their customs, hearing their words, observing their lifestyle and so forth. He shouldn't be anywhere near that. But in cases like this, where he can still practice his Islam and go about his business and she can go about her business, you should still try to make hijrah, but the hijrah for you in that case, because you're not being harassed or prevented as a whole in the entire country, like France, right? You can't walk down the street with a thobe on sometimes. Sometimes you can't walk, a woman can't walk into a public place. They harass her if she has a hijab or himar on or scarf on, let alone an abaya or a burqa. They've made it illegal and against the law, and you can be fined and ticketed for wearing that type of garment. Then you might fall into that category of the hijrah being wajib on you. But if you're able to, in your land, to practice Islam and show your Islam openly, kufi, beard, thobe, people know your name is Abdullah. You didn't change your name to Andy. Your name is Muhammad. You didn't change your name to Mo. Okay, you didn't change your name to, if your name is Safiya, you didn't change your name to Sophie. Everybody knows you're Muslim. You didn't have to do any kind of code switching. Then in that case, the hijrah for you is mustahab. It is greatly preferred. It's mustahab. It's preferred that you leave because you shouldn't be in a situation where you can expose yourself to the harm that comes from being around these kuffar. Having said that, in Islam, things are an obligation on us when we have the ability. The ability is what establishes the obligation. If you don't have the ability, then the obligation is waived from you until you are able. If you cannot make Hajj, you don't have the ability, as in one narration of the Hadith of Jibril, when alayhi salam, when Rasulullah was asked about, when he said, "Tell me about Islam." Okay, when he got to the point when he said, "And Hajjul Bayt in istata'tu," and making Hajj to the house, meaning to the Kaaba, in istata'tu, if you have the ability. This is why Hajj is only wajib on us once in our lifetime if we have the ability. Some people don't have the money, or they have the money but they have no way of getting there, or they have a way to get there but they have no way to support themselves while they're on Hajj. They don't have enough provisions. They don't know the ins and outs and so forth. They don't have the ability. So for those people, Allah will excuse them because they don't have the ability. Paying zakat is an obligation on you when you meet the nisab and you have the ability to do that. Praying in the masjid. If you live in an isolated area or you live in an area, and there are areas like this, I lived in one for 14 years. There are areas in which there's a single masjid and it's on the other side of town. You don't have the resources to take the bus or take a cab. You don't own a car. You can't get to the masjid. Okay, for you praying for the salah in jama'at at that particular masjid would not be wajib on you because the obligation is established upon the ability. You don't have the ability. You want to go to Jum'ah. The boss says you take off for Jum'ah, keep going. Take a permanent vacation, you're fired. I need you here. I said 9 to 5. You got to be here at 9 to 5. Make a decision. Okay, well, now you have to weigh that. You want to establish the Amr Maruf and the Nahi Anil Munkar, the enjoining of the good and forbidding the evil. But if you leave to go to Jum'ah and you've made your case and you've tried, it's not that you think something wrong, bad might happen. You know, you've brought this issue up. Listen, I really need to do this, and such and such and such. I gotta go. This is an obligation on me. I'm a Muslim. Da, da, da. He says, listen, Abdullah, I'm not gonna stop you from going from wherever you want to go. Just don't come back. I got people here. I got applications, as they always say. I got applications stacked this high of people who would love to get in here and get your job, and they'll be here every day. So if you feel that you can't handle these scheduled hours, you're more than welcome to leave. I'm not going to stop you, but I gotta let you go. So what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to establish Islam no matter what. I'm a trust in Allah. This is not the thought process, the mindset of people who use wisdom. This is your only job. So what do? Do you give up the Jumu'ah? Of course not. Do you look for another job that will afford you the type of scheduling that you need? Exactly. Until you have the ability. Once you have the ability, then it becomes wajib on you. Okay? So concerning this issue, coming back to Hijrah, some people don't have the ability. They don't have the money to get there. They don't have the resources. They don't have the connections. They don't know where to go, who to talk to, what land is the better land. They don't have a degree. In lots of these, especially in the Gulf countries, they want you to have some type of college degree, secondary education degree, certificate, and so forth. He doesn't have that. She doesn't have that. They've always been a person who, they get by the way they get by. They're talented, they're gifted, they're skilled, but has not translated to some type of formal degree. So they can't meet that obligation for that job, even though they are qualified and they've been working in that field for however long they've been working. They can't meet that obligation because they don't have a degree. So for them in those lands, they don't have the ability. There are some people who are on parole. There are some people who are on probation. There are people who are, just fresh and coming out the system. They are not allowed to leave the country. He's still on paper for the next 10 years, 15 years. He got a life sentence for, and after 20 years, they said, okay, we're going to give you parole, but you're going to be on parole for the next 25 years. He doesn't have the ability. She doesn't have the ability. They have the desire. But Allah will not punish us for what we are not able to do, for what is beyond our control. Allah yaqulullah la yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah does not put a burden on a soul except for what it can bear, or greater than what it can bear. So if you can bear, if the burden was such that you could bear it, then it will be an obligation on you. Okay, so this situation of is it hijrah, is it not hijrah, is it wajib, is it sunnah, is it this, is it that, is based upon your being able to practice Islam in the open without any negative feedback to your safety and to the safety of your family, or you having the ability to leave. This is extremely important. Now, there are people who are going to dispute this, and you're welcome to do so. However, I choose not to beat a dead horse. So I'm going to rephrase this terminology, and I'm going to say migrating. And the reason why I'm going to say that is because of the context that we just laid out. Sometimes it's obligatory from where the land that you live in, and sometimes it is mustahab. But the action itself is migrating. You're leaving one place to go to another. So if you're going to leave from one place and go to another, okay, to better your situation, to better your family and so forth, as a Muslim, we don't do the opposite. We don't backtrack and say, okay, well, I live in X country. It's bad here. I can't get a job. I can't take care of my family. And then I'm going to just go over to America because in America, there's plenty of opportunities, and they'll give you this. Or in Canada, you can be a refugee and this and like that. That's not hijrah. especially if you're in a country where you can show your Islam openly. Okay, for you is to be patient if you can be patient with it, or if you have the ability to go, you lead to some other Muslim land. So we're not going to leave Dar al-Islam to go to Dar al-Kufr. That's the opposite of what we're trying to achieve. Okay, as it relates to the constant talk, because when I made Hijrah, it was in 2004, but I have been hearing the talk, and it's in terms of what we want to do, it's redundant. It's not necessary. Leave it alone. People say, well, how do we know X country is a Muslim country? Because they have wine and they have khamr and the people don't follow Sharia, and some of the masajid are closed for the prayer, and the people, the ruler is like this and like that and like this. If you try to pick apart every single country that you plan on going to, you'll go nowhere. You won't go anywhere. You won't go anywhere. There's no country on the earth, Muslim or otherwise, Islamic or otherwise, that isn't free from those kinds of situations. So what do? Just sit where you are? No, you have to weigh that. Where are the pockets, the communities, the jama'iyah, the jama'at? Where are the places I can go to, the towns, the cities, the qarya, the villages that I can go to where Islam has a strong presence? I'm going to benefit. Quran classes for my children's school. I'm in an Islamic environment and so forth. I see Muslims, they see me. It's no issue. Nobody's giving me a hard time. I could practice and show my Islam comfortably and not have to worry about the safety of myself and my family. Where can I go? Okay, the Muslim world is not perfect. The Muslim world is not perfect. So if you're looking for the perfect place, I want to have X school and X situation and X community and X masjid and X kinds of people and X and X and X. And I want to be able to suck from the resources of the local people and live there for the rest of my life. You are fooling yourself. You are setting yourself up for a huge letdown, because no Islamic society or a society where the Muslims are present ticks all those boxes. So the best we can do is find, as one person said, the best of the worst. Where are the places where it's not ideal, but I can be a Muslim and I can practice freely? It's not ideal. Okay, but the Muslims seem to, there's an influence of Islam in these countries. Now, why do I bring that purpose or that particular perspective? Look at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When they left Mecca, where did they go? There was no Muslim country to go to when they made Hijrah. Where did they go? They went to Abyssinia, and Najashi, the king of Abyssinia, gave them asylum. They were refugees. They were being persecuted for their beliefs. They could not practice Islam in the open. Okay, if they were seen trying to pray, trying to gather, or anything, the people would do all kinds of despicable, nasty things, and even threaten to kill them. They threatened to kill Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They not threatened, but they attempted. It was attempted murder. It was attempted murder. We've dealt with Muhammad long enough. His uncle's got his arms around him. We can't touch him. Let's concoct a plan. All the youth and the tribes, we all stick them together. And then nobody can give retribution to a single tribe, because nobody knows which bullet, which sword killed them. This is how they do when they used to have firing squads, right? Everyone had blanks except one person, and the one person who had the kill shot didn't know that he had the actual live round. They all thought they had live rounds, but they all had blanks, except for one person. So that way he didn't have to live with the guilt of being the one who put the bullet through the heart of that person or executed that person. So where did they go? They went to Abyssinia as asylum seekers in a Christian land where it was clear they were on Islam, meaning the Muhajirun. They were on Islam. They were leaving Mecca because they were being persecuted. They went there because those people, as Allah says, the people who are closest in their love for the believers are the Christians. So they went there, and there was a righteous king there who Allah guided to Islam, rahimahullah. That was not a land of Islam. There was not even a masjid in Ethiopia. Why are we going ballistic over these details that must exist in these countries that we have put together? When they left Abyssinia and Allah gave the order to go to Medina, there was no masjid in Medina. The people came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a delegation. They came to him. They said, "We want you to be our ruler. We want you to be the head of state." But Ibn Salul was still there. He's the ruler of Medina. They had to deal with him until he got killed in the Ghazwa. So there was still no Islamic state in terms of this is the Muslim majority that rules by the Sharia and so forth. It didn't exist. It didn't exist. So they went and they made a situation for themselves by establishing the ata'ah, the ta'ah to Allah, the obedience to Allah. They established the prayer. They established the zakat. They established, all of the things, the legislations, the Islamic laws started being revealed in Medina, not in Mecca. In Mecca, it was Tawheed, 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 Tawheed. When they got to Medina, it's law now. It's the law. These are the things you can and can't do, and so forth and so on. So this is the perspective that we need to look at when we talk about when we are in the process of selecting a country. Okay, of course, you should find a country in which preferably the government is a Sharia government or it is a Muslim government, because you're going to find provisions within those governments that favor Muslims. Okay, they are built into their societies. Okay, if you can't do that, find one where the Muslims are in the majority there and they can walk about freely and practice Islam. They have massages, they call the adhan, and they're open. They fasting in Ramadan. They're doing all those things, and people see them. They are a fabric of the society. They are part of the fabric of the society. They are accepted. Their presence there does not cause harm to the people who adhere to Islam. That's what we're looking for. Not is so-and-so king or the president there, does he allow this and does he allow that, and they drink Hummer and there's a church over in the corner and all that. If you can't get into the lands where these things are not present, then you have to settle for what is less than that with the intention of possibly moving toward that thing later on. Maybe you will migrate to, for example, Tanzania, and you go over into Zanzibar. And Zanzibar, everybody's Muslim over there, okay? But they do have some liquor stores over there. I know this from personal experience. I've seen them, okay? But there's no public intoxication. The adhan is there. People go to Jumu'ah. For the most part, everybody that I encounter, unless they came from outside the city, were Muslims. And Tanzanians, they have a reputation of being very laid back. So it was a nice experience. But it was not the perfect experience. But maybe while I'm living in Tanzania, I can find a way to finish my studies, get a degree, get a certificate, find some remote work and so forth. And then I can start looking toward, the land that's going to get me closer. Maybe I can't get into Saudi right now, but Qatar might be open. Oman might be open. Dubai, UAE might be open. I wouldn't suggest Dubai. UAE might be open. One of the other Emirates might be open. Egypt might be open for a while so I can get the language. So these are increments. We can move in increments. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. If I can't go here, then I'll just wait. Or if it doesn't have this, then I'm not going. If it doesn't have that, then I'm not going. We have to be able to weigh that, because what is your situation right now? So we have to be very methodical with the way we approach this hijrah from this point forward. I'll have some other videos with some more ideas on how we can do this. And one of them you're going to appreciate. So that's going to be it for this video. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.